Welcome back to the Phantom Tollbooth, and we have just met the dodecahedron, and he was giving some very complicated word problems, and we'll pick it up from there. But if all the roads arrive at the same place at the same time, then aren't they all the right way? Asked Milo. Certainly not, he shouted, glaring from his most upset face. They're all the wrong way. Just because you have a choice doesn't mean that any of them has to be right. He walked to the sign and quickly spun it around 3 times. As he did, the roads vanished, and a new one suddenly appeared, heading in the direction that the sign now pointed. Is every road 5 miles from Digitopolis? Asked Milo. I'm afraid it has to be, the dodecahedron replied, leaping onto the back of the car. It's the only sign we've got. The new road was quite bumpy and full of stones, and each time they hit one, the dodecahedron bounced into the air and landed on one of his faces, with a sulk or a smile or a laugh or a frown, depending on which one it was. We'll soon be there, he announced happily after one of his short flights. Welcome to the land of numbers. It doesn't look very inviting, the bug remarked, for as they climbed higher and higher, not a tree or a blade of grass could be seen anywhere. Only the rocks remained. Is this the place where numbers are made? Asked Milo as the car lurched again, and this time the dodecahedron sailed off down the mountainside, head over heels and grunt over grimace until he landed sad side up at what looked like the entrance to a cave. They're not made, he replied as if nothing had happened. You have to dig for them. Don't you know anything at all about numbers? Well, I don't think they're very important, snapped Milo, too embarrassed to admit the truth. Not important, roared the dodecahedron, turning red with fury. Could you have tea for 2 without the 2? Or 3 blind mice without the 3? Would there be 4 corners of the earth if there weren't a 4? And how would you sail the 7 seas without a 7? All I meant was, began Milo, but the dodecahedron was overcome with emotion and shouting furiously carried right on. If you had high hopes, how would you know how high they were? And if you know that narrow escapes come in all different widths, would you travel the whole wide world without ever knowing how wide it was? And did you know that narrow escapes come in all different widths? Oh, okay. And how would you do anything at long last, he concluded, waving his arms over his head, without knowing how long the last was? Why, numbers are the most beautiful and valuable things in the world. Just follow me and I'll show you. He turned on his heel and stalked off into the cave. Come along, he shouted from the dark hall. I can't wait for you all day. And then in a moment, they followed him into the mountain. It took several minutes for their eyes to become accustomed to the dim light, and during that time, scratching, scraping, tapping, scuffling noises could be heard all around them. Put these on, instructed the dodecahedron, handing each of them a helmet with a flashlight attached to the top. Where are we going? Whispered Milo, for it seemed like the kind of place in which he whispered. We're here, he replied with a sweeping gesture. This is the numbers mine. Milo squinted into the darkness and saw for the first time that they had entered a vast cave with lit only by a soft, eerie glow from the distant stalactites which hung ominously from the ceiling. Passages and corridors honeycombed the walls and wound their way from floor to ceiling, up and down the sides of the cave. And everywhere he looked, Milo saw little men no bigger than himself, digging and chopping, shoveling and scraping, pulling and tugging carts full of stone from one place to another. Right this way, instructed the dodecahedron, and watch where you step. As he spoke, his voice echoed and re-echoed again, mixing its sound with the buzz of activity all around them. Tok trotted along next to Milo and the humbug, stepping daintily, followed behind. Whose mine is this? asked Milo, stepping around two of the loaded wagons. By the 4,827,659 hairs on my head. It's mine, of course, bellowed a voice from across the cavern, and striding toward them came a figure who could only have been the math magician. There he is. He was dressed in a long flowing robe, covered entirely with complex mathematical equations, and a tall pointed cap that made him look very wise. In his left hand he carried a long staff with a pencil point at one end and a large rubber eraser in the other. It's a lovely mine, apologized the humbug, who was always intimidated by loud noises. The biggest number mine in the kingdom, said the math magician proudly. Are there any precious stones in it? asked Milo excitedly. Precious stones, he roared, even louder than before, and he leaned over toward Milo and whispered softly, by the 8,247,312 threads on my robe, I'll say there are. Look here. He reached into one of the carts and pulled out a small object which he polished vigorously on his robe. When he held it up to the light, it sparkled brightly. But that's a 5, objected Milo, for that was certainly what it was. Exactly, agreed the math magician. As valuable as a jewel as you'll ever find anywhere. Look at some of the others. He scooped up a great handful of stones and poured them into Milo's arms. They included all the numbers from 1 to 9 and even an assortment of zeros. We dig them and polish them right here, volunteered the dodecahedron, pointing to a group of workers busily employed at the buffing wheels. And then we send them all over the world. Marvelous, aren't they? And that's where we will leave it, with the math magician. Until next time.